Have you ever felt like you're giving so much, but still feel empty? You help others. You try to please everyone. But deep down, something feels off. It's like your energy is going out, and nothing is coming back. Now pause. Imagine this. A woman who learns to sit with herself in silence becomes the most unpredictable force in the room, not because she wants to dominate, but because she no longer needs to. In a noisy world, silence is misunderstood. People think it's weakness, but there's a kind of silence that isn't about hiding. It's about strength. It doesn't beg to be understood, because it already understands itself. It's the stillness that comes when you stop explaining your worth. It's the peace that arrives when you stop reacting to every mood, every shift in someone else's energy. What if the real answer isn't doing more, but doing less? What if your greatest power comes when you stop chasing approval and start focusing on yourself? When a woman begins to truly focus inward, something powerful happens. She becomes calm, centered, and clear. She doesn't need to prove anything. She starts making decisions based on what feels right, not on fear, pressure, or habit. This focus brings back her energy, and suddenly, the things that once felt heavy don't matter as much anymore. This episode isn't just about silence or self-care. It's about a total shift in how you live, speak, and relate to others. It's about becoming strong from the inside, even if life around you feels noisy or messy. So today, if you're shadowing this episode, get ready. You're not just learning English. You're learning how to come home to yourself. And before we go deeper, tell me, where are you listening from? What's going on around you right now? I always love hearing your stories. Now, let's dive in. Why does silence feel so uncomfortable? Silence can feel awkward, even scary. Many of us are used to noise. Background music, constant talking, social media, the pressure to reply instantly. We're taught that silence means something's wrong. But what if silence is actually a message from your soul? When you stop running from the quiet, you start hearing yourself. That inner voice, the one that knows what you need, finally gets a chance to speak. At first, it might feel like discomfort. But over time, silence becomes a soft place to land. In silence, you don't need to perform. You don't need to explain. You don't need to be anything except present. And when a woman becomes comfortable in silence, she becomes powerful because she no longer fills every space out of fear. She lets the moment breathe. She allows energy to settle. And this quiet confidence starts changing the way people see her. Not because she's louder, but because she's more grounded, more connected, more real. What happens when a woman turns inward? When a woman begins to turn inward, she enters a different world. It's not about isolation, it's about connection with herself. She starts to observe her thoughts instead of drowning in them. She notices what makes her feel heavy and what makes her feel alive. She becomes more present in her own body. She might spend less time explaining herself to others and more time understanding herself. This is the beginning of real self-awareness. As this self-awareness grows, she begins to change how she moves through the world. She no longer chases people or forces conversations. She lets things come to her because now she knows her value. She doesn't need to be everything for everyone. She just needs to be herself. And that shift, it's quiet but deep. The people around her can feel it, even if they can't explain it. Because when a woman is connected to herself, her energy speaks before she does. Why are boundaries so important? Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about protecting your peace. When a woman has no boundaries, she often feels tired, irritated, and unappreciated. She gives, and then feels empty. But when she begins to set boundaries, something powerful happens. She starts to choose herself. She learns that saying no isn't rude, it's respectful to both herself and others. Boundaries help a woman take her power back. She no longer says yes out of guilt. She doesn't stay in conversations that drain her or relationships that confuse her. She becomes clear about what she can and cannot allow. And the more she honors her limits, the more peaceful her life becomes. People might not always like her boundaries, but they will learn to respect them because her peace is no longer up for negotiation. How does silence support clarity? When the world is loud, clarity is hard to find, but silence creates space. In that space, your mind begins to slow down. You start hearing your thoughts more clearly. You begin to notice patterns. The same worry that keeps coming back, the same story you keep telling yourself. And with this awareness, you can begin to choose differently. You're not just reacting, you're creating. Science supports this too. Neuroscience shows that moments of quiet help the brain reorganize information, reduce stress, and strengthen your ability to make thoughtful decisions. Silence is not wasted time. It's your brain's way of recharging. When a woman regularly practices silence, her thinking becomes sharper, her emotions more balanced, and her decisions more aligned with her truth. She no longer moves from pressure. She moves from peace. What does it mean to stop people-pleasing? People-pleasing can feel like kindness, but often it's fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of disappointing others, fear of being seen as difficult. But when a woman constantly puts others before herself, she starts losing touch with who she is. She says yes when she wants to say no. She smiles when she feels hurt, and over time she becomes tired, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Stopping people-pleasing doesn't make you unkind. It makes you honest. It means you choose what feels true, even if it's uncomfortable. It means your yes is real and your no is clear. You stop apologizing for having needs. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort. And as you begin to honor yourself, you begin to attract people who do the same. Why is reacting different from responding? Reacting is instant. It often comes from old pain, from triggers, from fear, from anger. You might say things you don't mean. You might take actions that hurt your future self. But responding is slow. It gives you space to breathe, to think, to choose. And that space is where your power lives. When a woman learns to respond instead of react, everything changes. She doesn't get pulled into drama. She doesn't waste energy on things that don't matter. She becomes the calm in the storm. And people feel that. Her energy doesn't rise and fall with the chaos around her. She becomes steady. And that steadiness makes her impossible to shake. How does focus change a woman's life? Where your focus goes, your life grows. When a woman is focused on drama, comparison, or external validation, her life feels scattered. But when she brings that focus back to herself, her energy becomes powerful. She stops chasing what drains her. She starts choosing what nourishes her, and her whole life begins to align. Focus isn't just about goals, it's about attention. What are you feeding your mind with? What conversations are you choosing? What emotions are you allowing to lead you? When a woman becomes intentional with her focus, she becomes unstoppable. She's no longer a passenger, she's driving her life with clarity and purpose. What is emotional sovereignty? Emotional sovereignty means you're no longer ruled by your emotions or by other people's emotions. It means you feel everything, but you're not controlled by it. You can hold space for your sadness without drowning in it. You can feel anger without attacking. You can experience fear without freezing. You become the calm parent of your own inner world. This isn't about being numb. It's about being mature. It's about understanding your emotions, respecting them, and knowing how to move through them. When a woman becomes emotionally sovereign, she stops giving her peace away. She becomes deeply responsible for herself. And that responsibility brings freedom. Can silence really rewire the brain? Yes, and science proves it. Silent moments help reduce cortisol, the hormone connected to stress and fear. When you're constantly in noise and chaos, your nervous system stays in fight or flight mode. But even just 2 minutes of silence can begin calming your brain. This calm supports memory, clarity, and emotional balance. Over time, it actually rewires the way your brain reacts to the world. You become less jumpy, less anxious, and more clear-headed, even in stressful situations. When a woman regularly practices stillness, she doesn't just feel better, she functions better. Her reactions slow down, her thinking sharpens, her sleep improves. Her digestion, heart rate, and energy all benefit. And most importantly, she begins to live from a place of deep inner peace. This isn't a small change. It's a powerful shift in how she experiences her life. Not as something she has to survive, but something she can truly live and enjoy. How do relationships change when you change? When a woman starts to focus on herself, her relationships often shift. Some people may not understand the new version of her, especially if they were used to her always saying yes, always being available, always putting their needs first. But growth means change, and change often reveals who really respects you, and who only liked the version of you that kept them comfortable. Some people will drift away. Some will try to pull you back to your old habits, and that's okay. You're not here to stay the same for the comfort of others. You're here to become more of who you truly are. And as you grow, new relationships, deeper, healthier, more respectful, will come into your life. Because when you are real with yourself, you start attracting people who are also real. And that kind of connection, it's worth the wait. Why do people fear strong, quiet women? Because you can't control a woman who knows herself. She doesn't chase attention. She doesn't explain every decision. She doesn't need to be liked because she likes herself. And that calm, grounded presence can feel confusing to those who expect loudness, chaos, or approval seeking. Quiet women are often misunderstood, but never forgotten. People are used to patterns, and when a woman breaks that pattern, when she becomes silent, focused, and emotionally sovereign, it shakes people. They don't know how to respond. They can't predict her, and unpredictability often feels threatening. But here's the truth. A strong, quiet woman is not a threat. She's a mirror. She reflects back everything others have not yet faced in themselves. And that's what makes her so magnetic. and so powerful. What does it mean to be authentic? Being authentic doesn't mean sharing everything with everyone. It means being real with yourself and living in a way that matches your truth. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop doing what others expect, just to be accepted. Instead, you start making decisions from a place of self-respect. You begin honoring your values, even if it means disappointing others. Authenticity feels lighter. You no longer carry the weight of pretending. You stop editing your personality to fit a room. You stop walking on eggshells. You speak with clarity. You move with intention. And slowly your world becomes filled with people, places, and routines that match the real you, not the version you once created to survive. This is how peace begins, with the courage to be honest. How does stillness build self-trust? Self-trust isn't built by reading more books or asking for more advice. It's built by spending time with yourself, without distraction. Stillness allows you to hear your own voice. You begin to notice how often you doubt yourself. You see where your fear comes from. And in that quiet space, you start learning to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to your own intuition. The more time you spend in stillness, the more familiar that inner voice becomes. You don't rush to ask others what to do. You stop second-guessing every move. You begin to trust that your thoughts, your feelings, your timing are valid. This doesn't mean you always get it right. It means you're finally okay with learning, with trying, with choosing. Because now you know you have your own back. Why is silence not weakness? Many people think silence means you have nothing to say, but often silence is a decision. It's the choice not to argue when you know it's not worth it. It's the choice to step back instead of forcing a connection. It's the choice to protect your peace, even when you have every right to fight. Silence isn't weakness, it's control, it's restraint, it's wisdom. When a woman chooses silence, it's not because she's powerless. It's because she's powerful enough to know when to speak and when not to. Her silence speaks volumes. It sets boundaries. It demands respect. And over time, people start noticing, not because she's louder, but because she's more intentional. Her silence isn't empty, it's full of self-respect. How does a woman become magnetic? A woman becomes magnetic not by chasing, begging, or proving. She becomes magnetic by being deeply at home with herself. She's not looking for someone to complete her. She's already whole. She's not pretending to be anything she's not. Her presence speaks before she does. She walks into a room and brings calm with her. That's what makes people turn their heads. Not loudness, but depth. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't try to impress. She simply exists with grace. She laughs fully, listens deeply, and walks away peacefully when something doesn't feel right. This kind of energy cannot be faked. It's built over time through healing, self-awareness, and quiet inner work. And once it's there, people feel it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. That's the power of grounded, feminine presence. What role does nervous system regulation play? Your nervous system controls how safe you feel. In your body, in your relationships, and in the world. When it's unregulated, everything feels like a threat. Small problems feel huge. Simple conversations become stressful. You overreact, overthink, and often feel exhausted. But when your nervous system is calm, you become steady. You feel more in control, more present, more at peace. A woman who learns to regulate her nervous system becomes unstoppable. She breathes deeply when others panic. She stays grounded when others lose control. She knows how to bring herself back, not because she's special, but because she's practiced. Through breath work, stillness, sleep, nourishment, and reflection, she trains her body to feel safe. And that safety allows her to take bigger steps, not out of fear, but out of faith. How do you start this journey? You start small. You don't need a 10-step plan or perfect routine. You just need 5 quiet minutes a day, maybe in the morning before the world wakes up, or at night before sleep. You sit with yourself. You breathe. You listen. You ask, "What do I need right now?" And then you wait. You don't judge. You don't rush. You simply allow. And over time, this small moment becomes a daily anchor. You also begin to notice your habits. Are you always rushing to answer messages? Always saying yes out of guilt? Always feeling drained after being with certain people? These are clues. You start changing, not by force, but by awareness. You begin living slower, deeper, more honestly. And with each choice, you come closer to the woman you were always meant to be. What do you gain when you return to yourself? You gain peace. Not the kind that comes from things going right, but the kind that stays even when things go wrong. You gain strength. Not the loud kind, but the kind that keeps you grounded when life gets messy. You gain clarity about who you are, what you want, and what you will no longer accept. And you gain freedom, the kind that comes from no longer needing to perform for love. You also begin to feel different, softer, yet stronger, quieter, yet more powerful. You stop trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for you. You stop chasing people who never saw your worth. And you start building a life, one decision, one boundary, one quiet moment at a time, that feels real, that feels yours, that feels like home. Final thoughts: why your quiet power matters. In a world that pressures women to always be available, cheerful, productive, and agreeable, choosing stillness is revolutionary. Choosing to say no is brave. Choosing to rest, reflect, and reconnect with yourself is not weakness. It's wisdom. Your quiet power may not be loud, but it changes everything. It shapes your relationships, your decisions, your identity. And remember this: when a woman becomes quiet, she's not disappearing. She's becoming. She's shedding what was never hers. She's letting go of noise. She's stepping into truth. And that truth makes her magnetic, grounded, and unforgettable. So take your time. Go inward. Protect your energy. And know that the power you're building doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be.